First of all, get up one more time for the bullpen slam.
Yeah.
That was awesome. You guys have some heavy hitters on that team, so keep it going. Usually when I do a set, like I plot it out, like I have kind of an up and down, kind of a journey to take the audience on between poems, so it's kind of an emotional trip. I don't have that this time, because I'm doing a combination of new and old stuff, and the new stuff does not fit in anywhere with anything else. So I'm just going to alternate between new and old, and that's how we're going to do that this evening. Also, I only have one of the new pieces memorized, so you'll get some stuff off paper. The new project I'm working on, the Modern White Man's Dictionary, is kind of, it comes from this idea that there are, I see on Facebook, how many of you are on Facebook? Right? How many of you see stupid political arguments and social arguments on Facebook? Okay, I see this all the time on my feed, and so often I just think if they just understood like this word in a different context, problem solved. And so I thought I want to explain to all of my fellow white men what some of these words that they seem to be misinterpreting mean. So that's the premise. I hope it doesn't offend anybody. My first friend that I had workshop this sent me an email the day after she got him, and she said, "Wow, I feel like a raging racist." So that's not the goal. That's not the goal. Anyways, they all come in the form of dictionary entries as well, all the new ones. To be. 1. A verb or linking verb denoting a state of being. As in Hamlet questioning whether to be or not to be. A philosophical examination of the virtues of life over death. Conjugated, the verb presents as am, are, is, was, were, being, been. As in God telling Moses, I am that I am. A simple statement of existence. 2. A lie. This is a more accurate definition. I have told a lie, but I am not a liar. The act does not encapsulate all that I am. But then, if I have lied, can I claim that no part of me is a liar? Would doing so deny the existence of an internal aptitude or ability to lie? If I claim, I'm not sexist, can it possibly be true? And worse, if I really believe this, what prejudices am I letting slip in under the encompassing cloak of being? On the flip side, if I say something sexist, homophobic, racist, or ableist, especially if that thing is out of character, does that define who I am? Under the mob mentality of social media, it did for Justine Sacco, Lindsay Stone, and Adria Richards, who saw their lives ruined with one social media slip-up. This is not an excuse for ignorant or hateful statements. This is a hope for open acknowledgement of our complexity as human beings, to assume or assert that I am or am not, that she is or is not, is to close the book on the subject. End the discussion within ourselves, no longer looking for insidious characteristics, beliefs, or reactions that should be weeded out, while at the same time it increases our likelihood of placing judgment unjustly upon others. To be verbs oversimplify one of the most complex and important issues humanity faces. Understanding ourselves. Understanding what it means to be. I may have within me the potential for racism, misogyny, and more, and there is a big part of myself that cringes at that acknowledgement, but acknowledging both that those things exist and yet don't define me gives me a chance to grapple with them, to make personal progress, and thus change the world around me for the better. Now, this is all language. It's semantics, diction. Sometimes a sentence requires me to be, or that you were. Language isn't, and so seldom is, the problem here. The way we let that language shape us, mold our view of the world and our fellow wanderers strewn about its face, is. So that's the first one. This second one actually is very reminiscent of one that somebody in the bullpen did, and it was so awesome, it all kind of blurred together. I can't remember who did this one. But this is called Prodigal, and it's a poem in 2 parts. 1. My mother joined the Mormon church when she was 23. I don't know how many nights she lost in worry over what her Presbyterian parents would think, rehearsing the apologies and explanations she might deliver over the last morning coffee they would ever share. But I know she was willing to lose them, if that's what it took to follow what she believed. Because, shit, she believed. She believed in temples as a house of power and sealing, binding families together like braiding rope, over, under, ordinance, covenant, each cross, tuck, and pull, making the individual more a part of the whole. She believed that in heaven there are many mansions, and she wanted her husband and children with her under the same roof. So the other day in the car, when she said she'd noticed I was no longer wearing my garments, that the recognizable ring of white undershirt woven and worn to symbolize my promises to God and church no longer popped out the neck of whatever else I was wearing, I could hear the hurt in her voice. And the stumbling pause between syllables rings heavier in my mind than the sound of the covenants I walked away from breaking, falling to my feet with the weight of the rope that bound us. A failure. That's what she said she felt like. And for a woman who dedicated most of her life to teaching school, I can see the logic. 2 out of her 4 children have walked away. Her 2 boys have chosen to stray, and 2 is 1/2 of 4, and 1/2 is 50%, and 50% has always been failing. 2. My mother, you are not a failure. Can't you see that it was you who taught me to follow my convictions? And I know they haven't led me where you'd hoped they would. I know they've got me outside the temple walls, a lifetime away from celestial vows, more than not with you, you believe, kept from you. But Mother, I need you to know that whatever's waiting for me on the other side, be it halos and choirs or brimstone and fire, I will stand in the shadow of whichever god or gods are waiting there, ready to pass their just judgment. I will stand there like I imagine you did, the day you told my grandfather, proud Presbyterian holding his ground in the land of Mormons, that you were joining the very people he had used to define himself against. I will stand there sure, unafraid, and holy. Mother, this is what I believe in the face of winds, a thrashing judgment with heaven's breath, and I will stand by that, by you, regardless. So instead of waiting for the prodigal's return to start the feast, go ahead, stoke the coals, prepare the fattest of the flock, and remember that thanks to you, I will never be lost. Okay, so this is also from the new one, and it's called Privilege. Privilege. Noun. A special right, advantage, or immunity granted or available only to a particular person or group of people. As in, I have the privilege of not worrying that I can't take my eye off my drink at a party, that I shouldn't be alone when the cable installer comes over, or that someone I already know might one day rape me. I have the privilege of living in a system that isn't pockmarked with loopholes legalizing prejudice against me, where concern for my own well-being is often labeled reverse racism, and where I don't have to worry that I could be shot because of the color of my skin. I have the privilege of marrying the person I love in any state in our nation, of not being evicted or fired because someone's religion disagrees with my lifestyle, and not worrying that a group of strangers might beat me or my family disown me because of my sexual preference or gender identity. These things could all happen to me, and may have happened to other white, straight, cisgender men, but the way the percentages weigh, my mind has never felt the weight of these concerns. Walking into a job interview, I have worried that they might not like my flip-flops and necktie combo, but never has the concern that my heritage could cost me the job or the amount of cleavage I show override my personal merit entered into the equation. I am the privileged of the privileged. I'm not saying everything has been handed to me on a silver platter or that I haven't earned what I have, but I am fortunate that those are my biggest fears when society dissects my lineage, sexuality, and gender, instead of lynch mobs, sexual harassment, and systematic discrimination. I am not responsible for the sins of my forefathers. And I'm not accountable for the hate and prejudice slung about by other white men, but I do sit in a seat created by a history infused inseparably with these themes. I sit on a throne of privilege, passively observing the fact that racism is very much alive, that feminism is still a dirty word, and that contemporary equality is anything but. Privilege might be a noun, but it's not something I can own. No matter how hard I try, I will never be fully aware of the struggles the color of my skin and my possession of a penis exempt me from. And saying that I can or do is just a cover story for throwing in the towel, because their pain is too uncomfortable for me to think about. Thank God, privilege isn't just a noun. Privilege, verb. Grant a privilege or privileges too, because I live in a society where, however unjustly, my voice is often heard above the cries of others, because I am assured more safety, a bigger platform with wider stairs, and a fraction of the roadblocks so many others face. May God grant me the intelligence to turn my privileges into action, to help change the world for the better, to work toward a day when women like Anita Sarkeesian can speak their mind without a shitstorm of death threats, where names like Trayvon Martin, Michael Brown, Tamir Rice, and Kevin Davis are attached to their accomplishments, not obituaries, where the life stories of Bree Golick and Layla Alcorn don't end in tragedy, but go on in a beautiful exploration of self. I'm blessed that I can do this while avoiding some fucked up savior complex, because they don't need my white male greatness to pull them up. What we need is for all of us to tear this system down.
Yeah.
You're starting a little early on the
Swing
tearing
it.
down.
So if you were to swing toward this direction, it might behave.
Star is like the microphone whisperer. So that was 3 heavy poems in a row, so we're going to do kind of a light one now. I did this one last time I was here too, and I mentioned last time that I was here that I was having an artist that I liked, Creighton Claiborne, commission. I was commissioning him to do like a picture for it, and I was going to make some posters. I have those, and they're at the back. So if you want to buy an awesome Creighton Claiborne picture with my poem on it, come talk to me afterwards. So this is called Apologies to the Emo Kids. I have failed you. I do not scare you shitless. I do not make your chest pump with adrenaline as you lash elbows in all directions, swinging with the most honest of motivations. Fear for your life. I remember tattooed behemoths, mohawks like battle spears threatening impalement at every punk rock show I attended in high school. At the Vandal show in '96, a 300-pound beast with 2-inch spikes protruding from his dog collar and a tattoo screaming, "Murder for fun," on his chest, foamed at the mouth as he stampeded towards me. And that was the first time I ever saw God. All 110 pounds of me ran flush with chemicals your body saves for things like carjackings or nuclear attacks. And harnessing them, I lowered my shoulder into his gut and dropped him like the paradigm I'd just outgrown. Then I ran like hell. Because back then, every concert, every mosh pit threw my own mortality in my face as only being stretched over that bloody, gnawing gap between this life and the next can. Because back then, it wasn't a good show unless you left with somebody else's blood on your shirt. So, as I stand in line outside the state fairgrounds, a July sun turning this parking lot into an 800 square foot frying pan, waiting for my chance to catch the bouncing souls in Bad Religion, and I have to listen to you whine about how dark and tortured your soul is as you repeatedly brush your bangs out of your eyes, adjust your black Hot Topic shirt with the catchphrase about anarchy, and fidget in what must be your girlfriend's jeans. I can feel the words of some revival tent preacher percolating inside me. He's whispering, "Repent. It is never too late to repay those you have sinned against." And I'm thinking, fingers pulling tightly together, knuckles straining against the skin that covers them, he might be right. Okay, so this is the last of the new ones I'm going to do, and it may be the last one I do depending on where we are on time. I tried to memorize this one, so I'm going to keep it here as safety, but we'll see. I think I got it. Heritage, noun, valued objects or beliefs such as cultural traditions passed down from previous generations. Sitting in my high school debate class, I listened to a young Caucasian fellow express irritation at one of our Hispanic classmates. "It's just so obnoxious. Why do you people have to stick Mexican flags on all of your shit? Can't you just be proud to be American? Confidently, the young boy replied, because I'm proud of my heritage. I cherish where I came from. Skipping past the obvious problems with the first statement, let's look at some of the underlying issues. This young Hispanic boy was proud of a heritage associated with hard work, community, and family. The young white boy couldn't tell you anything about his heritage. He couldn't tell you if he was British, Scottish, Irish, any of the issues. Didn't know. And this is what I find with so many white people. We're just white. And just white comes with some baggage. Colonialism, slavery, vanilla ice. Picture a lineup composed of a racial rainbow. I imagine you'd hear something like this. Hi, I'm black and I'm proud. Hi, I'm Hispanic and I'm proud. Hi, I'm Asian American and I'm proud. Hi, I'm sorry. I'm the problem. Damn it, I'm white. To quote Fat Mike, don't call me white. It represents everything I hate. Feeling like you should be ashamed of where you come from isn't pleasant. I think this is why racial apologetics are a knee-jerk reaction for so many white people. We're so busy justifying or distancing ourselves from our past, we don't have the energy to explore the issues we're responsible for here in the present. Footnote, see privilege. Sometimes, I think maybe things could be just a little bit better if I could grab some of these people by the shoulder and have that Robin Williams, Matt Damon moment where I look them in the eye and say, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. You live in a world where it can be difficult to notice your privilege until someone slaps you in the face with it hard. It's not your fault. You are educated in a school system that teaches a whitewashed version of American history. It's not your fault. You grew up surrounded by a pop culture that subconsciously emphasized your importance while downplaying or ignoring the suffering of others. It's not your fault. And then letting go of their shoulders and giving them an encouraging smile add, but now you're aware. So starting this moment, if you don't do something about those things, that is your fault. I would love to see the day where my race isn't most strongly associated with ignorance, bigotry, homophobia, and hate. I would love to pass to my son or daughter a heritage of understanding, empathy, and change. A heritage of being part of the solution instead of turning a blind eye to the problem. So, how are we in time, Star?
One more.
Good.
One
Yeah,
more?
keep going.
Okay.
2 more.
Trying to think. How heavy do you guys want this to end on?
Heavy.
God, you have no idea what you just asked for. This, when you do performance poetry enough, and there's a distinction, I want to say this real quick because you guys have a slam team here. There's a distinction between performance poetry and slam, and being good at one and being good at the other. Being good at slam, it means you know how to play the game. Right? It means you can go to a slam competition and you can read how the audience is reacting to different things. You know what the judges want to hear. You can manipulate the audience, that type of thing. I hate that. Being good at performance poetry means writing good poetry and being able to present it well. In that way, I think there's a lot of great performance poets that wouldn't be classified as slam at all. Right? Shannon Ballum gave an excellent performance tonight. Mark Doty, fantastic performer. But once you do performance poetry enough, you start to kind of almost be known during different periods for your most popular poem. And for a long time, this was my biggest poem, and it was really awkward because it's so heavy. And people would come up to me after the shows and be like, I really liked, wait, I don't know if I can say that. Your poem made me feel things. And so that's the warning, feel things. Chris asked me to read his letter. The one in his scratchy 8-year-old handwriting. The one where he was supposed to apologize to the 6-year-old girl he had sexually victimized. I'm sorry about what I did to you under the slide of the park. That I made you take off your clothes and watch me touch myself. The tiny lettering feels out of place with the subject matter, and I'm left facing the same questions this job poses every day. How do you explain and define empathy to a child whose mind can't keep up with the hormones the neighbor down the street awoke in him too early when he invited him to play games in the basement? How can I expect a mind more suited to fantasies of armor-clad heroes fending off fire-breathing dragons as they clamor around the castle gate to understand the depth of damage some games have? He knows you don't hit because it hurts. Bruises rising in testament to the cause and effect of this scenario, but when I try and explain that sometimes the worst bruises don't show up on skin, he looks at me lost in the details of trying to grasp these less tangible parts of reality. It's the same look I see on his face when, after their weekly visit, his mother hesitates to hug him. How do you rebuild a sense of reality that never had time to take shape? There are days when I want to hug Chris, tell him that his life isn't ruined, that what was done to him doesn't have to shape his time in this world any more than it already has. But his eyes struggle to see beyond this evening, and how he doesn't get to sleep at home because the man in the black robe felt Chris was too dangerous to be around his siblings. Then I remember spinning my niece in circles on my front lawn, and I can't look at Chris. This is my flaw, not his, but I can't stop my head from filling with the sound of knuckles breaking on the hands of anyone who would ever think of touching her. Every night after work, I kneel, pleading to whatever God may be looking down on us to send legions of angels with flaming swords to protect her and my nephews, at least until they're old enough to protect themselves. Send them that armor-clad hero, because I can't help but see dragons all around, and the gates of protection these arms would make are only good during the times when I'm there. And the tough part is that the judge was right. It isn't safe for Chris to be around his siblings. It shows in the way his face loses its expression in a sick separation of himself from reality when he catches a glimpse out the window of school children walking home. Tomorrow, when I come into work, Chris is going to smile and ask if we can play baseball for free time. So somewhere between strikeouts and pop flies, I'll say a prayer for Chris. Because for him, there was no hero. So now he has to build his own armor, hammer and anvil, forge and flame, sealing the dragons that have burrowed inside him away. So when he hands me another draft of another letter, I'll reach out with hope to see some growth and understanding. To see that his mind is growing to keep up with the emotions he is going to have to grapple with for the rest of his life. To see that he's preparing himself to return to his family and the world. And to be the hero they're going to need him to be. Okay, one more. We will end on a non-dark note. I think that sounds good. This is my wife's favorite poem, which I think is weird. I think it's a weird one to be her favorite, especially since I wrote her a love poem that's like super mushy and tender and shit. And she's like, no, I like the one about fish. So it's called, it has the best title. I felt ashamed of this title for a long time, but then one of my good friends said, stop it, it's actually a really cool title. So the title, which has very little to do with the poem, is The Night Before I Lost My Retainer. The sun sits heavy, pulling the lapping ocean up against it. My dad is lighting the barbecue, dirty fingers pinching a fast-burning match below, black bars caked in the residue of other people's evenings, other fathers and sons, the burnt-crusted foodstuffs of late Alaskan nights at Fisherman's Wharf. In a moment, we will grill the halibut we caught just hours before on the boat that tried to teach my head a new rhythm. You see, the boat, it spoke to me, told me what the sea had told it. Life moves forward and down and back and up and forward and down and back and up. This lesson rolled around inside my head, but I couldn't grasp the concept. Couldn't picture a world revolving in cyclical motion, so I spit its words back at the sea in a vibrant mix of pink and orange. My gift to the fish we wouldn't catch. Back on shore, my dad stokes the flames that now outshine the sun, as though the rotations of the galaxy had shifted, and the sun now rotated around us, around this boy and his father, around his week's worth of beard growth and my week's worth of trying, around a modest step in the transition to manhood. You see, just like Ptolemy and Aristotle thought, we are the center of the universe. Or at least we were then, sitting on this park bench with peeling paint, eating flesh carved from the softest, most honest part of our world. I say honest because what it told me was true. Life does move forward and down and back and up. And most days, I can't take it. I can't handle the drop and rise of life, so I put my head between my knees and I take deep breaths. And I reach out for anything near, hoping someone is near. And when I find an arm, it doesn't matter if it's his arm or your arm. They all have the same rhythm, the same beat beneath the skin. Blood pushing forward, vessels pulsing in one way, onward, in lines that cut narrative lines through that forward and down and back and up. Thank you.